we've had a big cutback in the availability of some of the key ingredients for beer. Barley being the most important one, where production in Canada is down around 20 to 30%. And that's a result of the incredibly dry and hot summer that we had in many grain growing areas. And that's going to be reflected in the beer prices.
Welcome back to the Midweek Exchange, the show where we break down those big economic issues and explain how they could impact your life. I'm Natalie Nanowski, and as always, I'm joined by Brett House, Scotiabank's VP and Deputy Chief Economist. Hi, Brett. I hope you had a nice long weekend.
I really did. We have a lot to be grateful for, and I hope you had a good holiday too.
I did. Thanks so much. And one thing that Canadians could be celebrating right now is job numbers. We had a strong month in September. What exactly does that mean for economic recovery?
Well, you're absolutely right. We went into the Thanksgiving weekend thankful for a very strong rebound in jobs numbers in September after a couple months that were softer ahead of it. We saw the total number of jobs in Canada get back to pre-pandemic levels, the participation rate of Canadian workers go back to pre-COVID numbers, and we saw employment rates and unemployment rates move back to closer to what they were prior to the pandemic. Overall, labor markets are now matching total economic output in posting data that is consistent with the economy being fully recovered. Of course, as we've talked about, that's an uneven recovery where some sectors and some workers clearly haven't done as well as others, even as some parts of the economy are actually doing better than they were pre-pandemic.
And one of the other topics that we've frequently touched on is increase in prices overall. Now we're being told that the price of beer could go up because there might not be enough barley to go around. What's the deal there?
Well, we're seeing the confluence of two factors here. First, the reopening and the increase in demand for almost all goods and services that we've talked about before. And beer is no exception on this point. We're seeing people get back onto patios, back into restaurants, and stepping up a bit of consumption at home. At the same time, we've had a big cutback in the availability of some of the key ingredients for beer. Barley being the most important one, where production in Canada is down around 20 to 30% from previous years. And that's a result of the incredibly dry and hot summer that we had in many grain growing areas. And with that reduction in supply, that's pushing prices on raw materials up. And that's going to be reflected in the beer prices at the store and at the restaurants that we go to.
You know, regardless of prices, Canadians should be raising their glass to David Card. He won the Nobel Prize for Economics. Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, it's Canada's fourth Nobel Prize in economics, and it's a really timely award as we're talking about labor market numbers because David Card did some of his most signature work on the impact of minimum wages on employment, and he showed as a result of a comparison in data between a few states in the US, New Jersey and Pennsylvania, that in conditions where labor markets are tight, like they are right now in Canada and the United States, an increase in the minimum wage doesn't tend to cut back on hiring or hours worked, but can be an effective way to ensure higher incomes get passed on to relatively low wage households.
Right, kind of the stuff that we're seeing right now. And in terms of the upcoming week, what should we keep our eyes on?
Well, as always, we're looking forward at the same time as we're taking stock of what's just happened. The end of this week, we're going to see numbers on existing home sales in Canada. And it's an important data point because we've seen relatively small numbers of homes transacted even as prices have gone up. And it could be that if we start to see some signs more houses are coming onto the market, that might provide a little bit of a cooling effect on some of those strong housing price increases we've been looking at.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Brett.
Great to talk.
Great to speak with you too. And we'll have more Midweek Exchange coming up next Wednesday.